Hello and welcome to Rosa Laura. If this is your first time visiting the channel, then it's so wonderful to meet you. And if you're returning, it's so great to have you back. My name is Rosa, I'm a digital artist, and today I'm working on a comic commission. My client recently had me do a piece of their OC Shua and wanted to come back and have me do a piece of an RP thread, or rather a specific moment from an RP thread as a comic. Now, this is not very usual for me as an artist. Usually I'm doing character design for individuals, or I'm taking a design that already exists and being able to do something with that character, put that guy in a situation, design a new outfit for them, that sort of thing. It's been really awesome to have a client or two that comes back to me and has me do multiple pieces with the same character. It means a lot to me. It means that they really resonate with the way that I make my art and that they have a lot of confidence in the way that I depict the character and what they're doing. There was something, however, in this piece that I wasn't as confident in, and it was the really awesome and epic kick in the very middle, featuring middle of this comic. Now, we were able to rectify this by getting some references. My client picked out a couple of different kicks that were in the style that Shua would use. I took one of those screenshots and I was able to trace the skeleton so that I could put Shua in the right place for this pose. I think it's really important to use all of the tools at your disposal, and I don't want for anyone, whether they're a more experienced artist or they're someone just starting out, to feel bad for being able to use something like references or tracing over a skeleton. So I want you to know that me, as someone who does this semi-professionally and, gets commissions and does art for myself and for others, that these are techniques that are okay to use. It's always important as well to be transparent, right? So I'm not trying to cover up the fact that I absolutely used a reference or absolutely traced over this skeleton in order to make sure that the figure would make sense in motion. But I want to make sure that the stigma is lessened for those who want to learn how to do these things. An example of using this technique to get better is actually the crouching pose in that first panel that I just finished. Because I've done that pose before, because I have practice with that pose, and probably because I heavily referenced at an earlier date or maybe even traced a skeleton on another day, I know how to do that pose. I'm able to summon it from my brain and just spit it out onto the page with relative accuracy. Because we practice things that are harder, we use references, we trace skeletons, we use the tools at our disposal, it means that the next time that I want to do something like a harder kick pose, I'm going to be working from a place of advantage. I'm going to have more practice doing it. And I know, of course, that because I add my own flair, I add my own style, that what I do for myself and for my clients is original, so don't feel bad about it. Something that really shines through this piece are the varied line weights that I have in the line art, as well as the final sense of color and lighting. Interestingly enough, in the other picture that I did of Shue, the lighting, especially this sort of tandem blue-pink lighting, was really important to me, as well as the singular spotlight that was shining down on her. The client, and I talked to the client about this, I was like, last time I used this pink and teal coloring for the lights, what would you like to be a central point of this one? And my client said I'd like a little bit more focus on the idea of like the color purple. And I was like, perfect, let's do it. And so when I get to putting all the color on here, I start the entire background with a wash of purple. And I just check with the client after I do the very basic background work. And I say, hey, how does this feel for you? Different people who do art on commission will check in with their clients, an amount of times that's right for them. I'm usually pretty communicative when it comes to my clientele. Especially if I'm working with someone for the first time, I check in with them when I have a sketch, I check in with them when I do the line work, I check in with them when I do the flats, and then usually I'm finishing up on my own. One of the reasons for this is I want to make sure that I'm on the right track with my client. I don't want for them to feel that I'm inaccessible or that if something needs to be changed, they can't ask for me to change it. I really love bringing my clients' ideas to life and really making them shine. And so it would be a real shame if they didn't feel like they could get that image that they wanted from me. Because of that, I'm a little bit of a gabber when it comes to working on my pieces with my clients. But I also love the point in the piece where they say, go ahead, go for it, and I'm just allowed to go ham. And it's such a wonderful experience to put a whole lot of effort into a piece and for them to think it's just absolutely incredible. The difference between doing the flats on a piece, which is just flat color, versus all of the shading, the lighting, the effects, the multiply layer, the add glow layers, all of that is just such a vast difference, especially in the way that I like to render and do my art, that even if my client has seen the flats, it oftentimes is this really big wow experience. And there's no better feeling as an artist than making your client happy and really bringing that idea to life and seeing them get so excited that you were able to nail it. This piece was difficult. This piece was difficult in a couple of ways, mostly just in that one pose, but also making sure that the eye traveled well around the piece. The way that the piece was designed was focusing on the idea of negative versus positive space, using the panels to kind of create that distance between ideas. The upper left panel, the first panel, is supposed to be a sense of grounding, and it draws your eye to it immediately with the idea that it goes directly to the right. I'll put them in soon, but there's actually going to be a series of little squiggly lines behind Shua in the first panel that kind of draws the eye in towards her so that the eye isn't immediately drawn to the right panel, which is the one with her eye. I do want for the eye to land on, for the viewer's eye to land on the left first, go right, you hit the figure that she's hitting, that she's kicking, and your mind goes, how did that happen? So you're traveling down then that sort of slanted panel of the leg, which is on that diagonal so that it's easier for the eye to go down that sort of slide. You pause at the bottom and then follow the purple sweep of the leg upwards to reconnect with the guy. And you're like, oh, that's how that happened. After that, the eye sort of relaxes and you can see the figures at the bottom enjoying the view of the fight. But when I design a comic page, I want for that motion to be something that happens naturally. And hopefully, in the final, as you look through these panels, it's obvious the way that the eye is meant to move. I love all the details in this piece. I love the effects, the lighting, and I love the intensity that comes off, especially in the planting of the foot and the sweeping of it upwards. I had a blast making this commission. It was a challenge in all the right ways, and I'm just so happy that my client liked it. As always, I want to thank my patrons that help me make art, but especially Banjo, Confocal Clips, Deator, and Firepit. They're the best. And of course, you. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. If you'd like to see another video, there will be one on screen. And of course, if you like what I do, you can support me on Patreon. And remember, it's all gonna be okay. See you next time.